Good evening. The school committee business workshop session of May 8th, 2023 will now come to order. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Rachel Banks,
Present.
Ryan DiZoglio, Lori Keegan,
Present.
Susan Nicholson,
Present.
Jane Azani Pesh,
Present.
Luann Santos, Mayor Neil Perry.
In the absence of the mayor and the vice chair this evening, may I get a motion to elect a pro tem chairperson for this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
For who?
Well, you said to make a motion first.
Sorry.
To nominate, yes,
Yeah,
okay.
I guess nominate.
I nominate Jana Zani Pesh.
Second.
Second.
Perfect. Thank you. Any discussion? No. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Rachel Banks,
Yes.
Ryan DiZoglio, Lori Keegan,
Yes.
Susan Nicholson,
Yes.
Jane Azani Pesh,
Yes.
Luann Santos, Mayor Neil Perry. 4 yeses, it passes.
Thank you. May I now have a motion and a second to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved.
So moved.
Moved by Member Banks, seconded by Member Nicholson. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Excuse
we
me,
have to
Madam,
amend it
We're
first.
going to amend it first. Just need to go to the motion to amend the agenda.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
May I have a motion and a second to amend the agenda to replace number F3 with the following? Award the financing of instructional software via MHEC contract MC14519 Master Leasing and Financing Contract.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Member Keegan, seconded by Member Banks. Any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Rachel Banks,
Yes.
Ryan DiZoglio, Lori Keegan,
Yes.
Susan Nicholson,
Yes.
Jane Azani Pesh,
Yes.
Luann Santos, Mayor Neil Perry. 4 yeses, it passes.
Thank you. May I now have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Moved by Member
So moved.
Keegan, seconded by Member Nicholson. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Rachel Banks,
Yes.
Ryan DiZoglio, Lori Keegan,
Yes.
Susan Nicholson,
Yes.
Jane Azani Pesh,
Yes.
Luann Santos, Mayor Neil Perry. 4 yeses, it passes.
Thank you. Now moving on to the fun stuff. Superintendent, can you please introduce our student for tonight's flag salute?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So if I could have Susan Lamoureux come up. She's the associate principal from the Timony Grammar School. And our flag salute student tonight, Isaac Milan.
Thank you.
Go, and he can hold it
Yep.
next to him.
All right, right here next to me, my friend. All right, I am proud to present Isaac Milan to lead the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. Isaac lives with his mom and dad, Matthew and Mai, and his brothers Ian in second grade and Isaiah in first grade, who are also here this evening. He has attended the Timony Grammar School since kindergarten and has only good things to say about how kind, helpful, and caring all of his teachers have been over those 5 years. His favorite subject in school is math, but he is also an enthusiastic and confident reader. Earlier this year, Isaac shared with me his newfound interest in graphic novels, and since then, he has moved on to series and chapter books, and I think you're starting a new series now, right, that you showed me today? His comprehension skills have grown tremendously since the beginning of the year, more than 5 grade levels, according to his latest Reading Plus assessment. And one of his favorite activities at the end of the day is to curl up with a good book. Currently, or he was, enjoying the Front Desk book series by Kelly Lang. And Isaac admitted that his father has had to ask him more than once to put his book down and go to bed. His teacher, Ms. Zins, shares these thoughtful words. Isaac is a hardworking, respectful young man. He's always ready to learn and never wants to stop. Isaac has a passion for reading, and his eyes light up when he's captivated by a story. When Isaac is unsure of something, he never gives up. He is a model student and is definitely ready for 5th grade. if I let him go. When he is not in school, Isaac and his family love to travel, with Hawaii and Vietnam at the top of the list of favorite vacation spots. Isaac hopes to visit Australia sometime soon and take another trip to Vietnam to experience more of his mom's cultural heritage. When he's older, he definitely wants to go to college, maybe Merrimack, but still leaving all options open, and eventually becoming a veterinarian because he loves animals and doesn't like it when they don't get the care and attention he feels they deserve. While I'm confident that Isaac will easily adjust to the demands of 5th grade, I will miss our daily talks and laughs at parent pickup. Isaac is a great role model for his brothers and his peers. His engaging personality, along with a healthy respect for education and hard work, will certainly help him achieve his goals in life. It is my sincere honor and pleasure to have Isaac represent our school in leading the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, and everybody up when you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent.
Superintendent, will you please introduce the SOAR Award recipient?
Yes, I'd like to call up Dr. Lisa Golubsky to introduce Ariani Mendez. If Ariani can come up as well. Awesome.
Good evening. The English Learner Education Department proudly recognizes Senior Ariani Familia Mendez. Ariani is a highly motivated and hardworking student who takes great pride in her education. Earning nearly straight A's in all subject areas, Ariani has not only made great strides in her English acquisition, but she's become a true leader in the classroom. Born in the Dominican Republic, Ariani lived there until she was 6 years old. Ariani and her mother then moved to the Canary Islands in Spain, where they lived for 8 years. In 2019, Ariani and her mother arrived in Methuen. When enrolling as a grade 9 student at Methuen High School, Ariani was eager to start high school, although she did not know any English. Just as she began to learn English, the pandemic hit. Ariani's English skills regressed as she and her mother were isolated at home, only speaking Spanish. When Ariani returned to in-person school, she felt lost. Ariani marked her junior year as being pivotal for her development, as she had more opportunities to practice and improve. Ariani credits Mrs. O'Sullivan with helping her develop proficiency and improve her vocabulary. According to Ariani, her English language development classes and her English language arts classes complement one another and give her a more comprehensive understanding of English. Now as a senior, Ariani feels confident and prepared to speak without the use of translation devices. She is very proud of how far she has come, as are her teachers. Ariani's teachers agree that she is one of the hardest working students they have ever had in class. Ariani's teachers, past and present, unanimously find her to be engaging and respectful, with a remarkably strong desire to learn and an undeniably cheerful spirit. In Mrs. O'Sullivan's mainstream American literature class, Ariani worked diligently to keep up with assignments while simultaneously working toward English proficiency. In Ms. Prendergast's sports literature class, Ariani regularly participated in discussions and encouraged the same effort from her peers. Ms. Corey enthusiastically agrees that Ariani is poised and ready to chase her dreams. In her free time, Ariani enjoys listening to music, talking with friends, and completing word searches. Following her graduation this June, Ariani plans to study psychology, possibly at Middlesex Community College, with the goal of becoming a clinical psychologist. It is with great pride that the Methuen High School English Learner Education Department recognizes Ariani Familia Mendez with the SOAR Award. Ariani, it has been our pleasure to have you as our student.
When I arrived in this country, I was so nervous about my new life here. New people, new culture, new house, new school, and the most scary thing, new language. My first thought when I entered the principal's door was, wow, this school is really big. Will people accept me in the huge place? What about if we don't want a person like me? What about if this place never becomes a comfortable place for me? Many questions came to my mind, and I was so scared and nervous thinking my new classes and if I will make new friends. But from the beginning, Methuen High School made me feel at home, and every single morning I wake up really excited to go to school. I'm very grateful for the acceptation I got here in MHS. I want to thank Mr. Barden for always taking care of us and making Methuen High School a very comfortable place for us. I also want to thank my teachers, especially my algebra teacher from last year, Miss Curry, my American literature teacher, Miss O'Sullivan, my ELD teacher, Miss Rios, Miss Javier, and Miss Thomas, for always being there for me and for always pushing me through the success. I also want to say a few words to my mom. Mami, gracias por todo lo que has hecho por mí, desde arriesgarte por traerle de comer a casa hasta cambiar toda tu vida por mí, por nosotras. Ten por seguro que este será uno de los premios que recibiré. Lastly, I want to share how proud I feel to be part of Methuen High School. I will always cherish those moments and keep it safe, and when people ask me that school I graduate from, I will probably say that I graduate from Methuen High School, home of the brave, of the Rangers. Thank you.
Superintendent, will you please introduce our next SOAR Award recipient?
I would love to. So if I could have Mr. Kevin Geary come on up and Jaden Martinez as our student award winner tonight.
Now it's on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that we introduce Jaden Martinez to you all. One of his former teachers, Mr. Michael Taggart, has prepared some remarks that he'd like to share with you regarding Jaden. Mr. Taggart's going to go first. Okay, Ben.
All right, thank you, Mr. Geary, Madam Superintendent, Madam Chairman. We are pleased to announce Jaden Martinez as this year's SOAR Award recipient. Jaden is the son of Joanna De Leon. Over the past 4 years, Jaden has demonstrated significant social, intellectual, and personal growth. He has earned the respect of his classmates and his teachers with his generosity, his work ethic, self-advocacy, quick wit, and his appreciation of his positive relationships with others. Jaden epitomizes the motto, quand je puis, or as much as I can, whether it be by giving his best effort on an assignment, asking for assistance as needed, freely sharing his own work, casting assiduous attention to detail, lightening the mood with a well-timed, humorous remark, or showing his appreciation for the efforts of others. Jaden always does as much as he can in any situation. Teacher Mike Murray says, Jaden is that rare high school student that evokes a smile from me whenever I see him or discuss him with a colleague. Jaden is equipped with a dry and witty sense of humor that positively affects staff and students alike, an intuitiveness that has a positive impact on his classmates and his teachers, and a genuine appreciation for small gestures. Teacher Vanessa Fisher describes Jaden as unbelievably funny, witty, and responsive in social and academic situations, adding, this shows best in his written responses in which he is direct and able to capture his understanding with humor and transparency. At times he can be brutally honest, but he is unafraid to break the ice in uncomfortable situations. In class, Jaden is often one to freely share his thoughts, insights, and musings to the benefit of his classmates and teachers alike. Teacher Christine Dumont shared a story from the second week of school this year, in which most students were reluctant to share the deeply personal poems they had written, but Jaden shared his with his English class. She says, Jaden's poem perfectly combined humor, seriousness, and vulnerability, all previews to traits that he would exude throughout the year in our classroom. His contributions to our lively discussions helped us all gain insight and learn from each other. According to teacher Kara Brooks, who had Jaden in class last year, Jaden thrived whenever he read a poem or a part in front of class. When he read the part of Troy Maxon in August Wilson's Fences, he engaged the entire class by volunteering to stand in front of the room and speaking clearly and passionately. He was a pleasure to have in class. And also to add one of my own favorite memories, when I had Jaden in class when he was a sophomore, Jaden stayed after class with me one time during remote learning to get some extra help with a geometry lesson. And once Jaden was satisfied that he understood the material, he closed the session, signing off, advising me to be careful out there, the classic benediction from Hill Street Blues that I was using myself and still do to close out each class. Jaden is unsure of his plans for next year at this time. He is considering taking college classes in some form, and he's indicated he would like to do some work with computers. Jaden has certainly demonstrated that he has the academic skills, the drive, the mindset, and the resourcefulness that augur well for success at the next level, whatever that may be. Vanessa Fisher adds, Jaden wants to look at all angles of a situation to ensure that he is prepared for any challenge that comes his way. He is highly aware of his strengths, needs, and challenges. Jaden has demonstrated that in any situation, he will certainly do as much as he can with good humor, a strong work ethic, for which he will be missed here at Methuen High School. We are proud and honored to recognize a young man who does as much as he can, all with kind-heartedness, dedication, self-awareness, a wry sense of humor, and an unparalleled joie de vivre. Jaden Martinez as our SOAR Award winner for 2023.
All right. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Taggart for announcing me here tonight, and as well as Murray and everyone else for showing up. I honestly didn't think I would ever get here. First of all, thank you all for showing up. And second of all, okay, how do I say this? I'd like to thank Mr. Murray for being here tonight. I've had a lot of help, and I couldn't survive my freshman year without it. Trust me, I couldn't even if I tried. I've enjoyed my time here in Methuen High School, and I had a good experience because everyone around me tried to get my sense of humor. They taught me in their own unique way that wasn't boring or too traditional. And they never cracked under pressure, not even once, during difficult situations. And trust me, there were plenty of difficult situations. Whether it would be students, the pandemic, order just chaos running around, or even in difficult situations, they always managed a way to come out on top. I truly couldn't ask for better mentors to look forward to from this time around. Okay, again, sorry, my brain's a little glitchy today. When I vanish from here, I'm pretty sure it's pretty much gonna go back to the same traditional method without my sense of humor. I understand if you all would miss me that much. My favorite subject in high school. Many students would say lunch just to be funny. But I'm pretty sure my favorite class was all of them, so as long as I could express my sense of humor and, motivational drive. Oh, speaking of lunch, my favorite lunch was the spicy chicken sub, if anyone was wondering or even cared. But, it seems I have to go now. They keep telling me they keep kicking me out the booth. So if they want me, okay, thanks, she said it, not me, but thanks. But thank you all very much. Oh my God, why? Okay. Thank you, everyone. I couldn't have done it without y'all.
Before we get back to our regularly scheduled programming, I just wanted to say hi to the mayor. He has joined us virtually. Mayor, they elected me pro tem chairperson in the beginning. Would you like me to continue?
That'd be great.
Okay, well, we're glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here. Good to see you.
Our student representative, Selma Bulal, do you have any updates for the committee?
Yes, unfortunately, some of the student council presenters couldn't be here tonight, but they were just planning to speak a little bit on the success of the Little Mermaid play that happened, I think like a week or two ago. It was hosted by Stage Door 22, and they just did a really good job overall. It was an amazing play, and they also were going to talk a little bit about junior prom, and it was a big success. I wasn't in attendance, but yeah, that's all.
Thank you. I actually took my daughter to see The Little Mermaid, and to say it was incredible is an understatement. The amount of talent and the job that they did was incredible. And lucky for me, my daughter liked it so much, she wants to go to every single play that is at Methuen High from now till the end of time. So you'll see me there. So that was for the Student Advisory Council as well? Okay. Has anyone signed up for public participation? No. So at this time, we'll close public participation. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. I see there are none. So moving on, Superintendent, can you please update the committee on 9 Branch Street?
Yes, so there's a memo in your packet regarding some updates. So we continue to move along on the time frame that we're looking at. I think the only change here that we have that is to be determined, we are making some plans this week and next week. I think I announced that we were hoping to move some departments in pieces from Central, but we will learn this week if that's possible or not. We may have to switch over the network. It's all about the network and the phones, and do that all at once so that we don't have split phones in one building and the other. Yeah, so I was excited about that, but I don't think that we are likely going to be able to do that. So Mr. Goslin and I are meeting with both Chris Lane and Nathan Raymond, our tech folks who are running the show right now and getting everything up and running at Branch Street. So that's the kind of the only biggest change that we have, but everything else is coming to completion. We do have right now a plan, and we do have to put it out to bid to redo the front part of the parking area, which we've talked about since the purchase of the building. The grading is where the handicap parking is not acceptable. It has to be redone. So there is possibly going to be some construction this summer while we have ESY, but we will work around that outside of the building. It does have to be done before we open in September. So those are some of the timeline pieces that we're working around. But the interior of the building is almost at completion. Just want to knock on wood. We're doing some final walkthroughs with, final furniture, spacing, things like that. We had a walkthrough last week for final office spaces with real office numbers and people and where people are going to be housed. The preschool teachers came over last week for the first time and toured their classrooms. So we're bringing central office staff over last week and this week and next week to see the office spaces in the building. So it's in a really good place. So we'll schedule a time for the school committee to come over and see it as well in the coming weeks. So we're ready to do that. So we'll pick a time, like I said, try to find the best time that everybody can come over, or do it in shifts, which is fine too. We'll do separate tours for everybody to see the building. We are still, again, expected and on time to open for ESY on July 5th. So we will have students and people in the building. That is our goal, and we are pushing to meet it. So, and I can't thank Bruce Stella and David Whitcomb. Both have done a remarkable job making sure and executing all projects, large and small, inside and outside that building to make sure that it's ready for us. So again, and so has Nathan Raymond and Chris Lane, trying to make sure all of the entire networking and wiring project is ready for us, and that we can hopefully walk in and have phones working and computers working and everything go smoothly. So I appreciate all their work. So I think those are the two biggest updates, right? That was the biggest one, the potential move. Not going to happen quite as slowly as we thought.
Thank you for the update. Anybody have any questions on the update of Branch Street? I'm glad you knocked on wood, but that's.
I did. I know better than to say for sure and give guarantees, because we never know what we're going to find. But right now, I feel really good about where we are and the progress everybody has made.
Great.
Yeah.
Can you please update us now on the emergency shelter funding?
Yes. So the second memo you have there, which I do intend to share with the City Council as well tomorrow, because it was part of our conversation that we had with them for our joint meeting. So funding was in the supplemental budget for Governor Healy's, the one that she signed in March, for emergency shelter communities, schools specifically. So we were correct in the way that they were trying to calculate the cost per pupil. They ended up doing a per pupil by year, but then broke it down by day, understanding that some of the students are with us, going to be with us for the whole year from when they arrived at the shelter, and also understanding some students are going to be here for a shorter period of time and leave, but there should be something for the cost of the students for transportation and materials and things for all the kids. So I copied exactly what was sent to us in the bold italics was the language that was sent to us. So it was $104 per day per student. So our team calculated that for the amount of students that we had. So from October 1st to March 1st, we are expecting a payment of $268,000 to fiscal '23, which, as we talked about, sometimes these can be odd because we've had to pay all the bills, right? So the kids have everything they need at this point, right? They have the Chromebooks, we're paying our transportation bills. So as we get the payments in, Mr. Goslin will certainly work for the state. They will tell us how that money comes to us and how we can use those funds for this fiscal year. Our hope is that those which will come in the next memo with the budget discussion, that having these funds now that were unanticipated will help us offset the cost of the FY24 budget by being able to pre-purchase more of those out-of-district tuitions. The first 3 months is what is allowable, which we already have in place. We've been doing that for the 5 years I've been superintendent. It's a good place to be able to pre-purchase those tuitions. And again, it's allowable, so a lot of districts do that. So we do anticipate another request for this data from March 2nd to our last day of school. When that payment comes in, we're not quite sure, right? Because we're not quite sure how we're going to be asked to allocate those funds to FY23, FY24. We just have to wait at this point for that one. But the language is positive in the sense that it is also talking about being able to apply some of this calculation to FY24. If you recall, none of the students in our emergency shelter were added in our October 1st enrollment, which is where our funding comes from. So I'm hopeful that this carries forward and there's something that will be allocated and have the students count in that October 1st enrollment. Again, I don't know what it looks like. This was all the information we were given at this time. Felt it was really critical for you all to have it because we got it like the day after the last school committee meeting, so it was very exciting. We calculated it very quickly. We turned around the information very quickly back to DESE. I think it was the quickest upload we've ever done. So again, we're just anticipating that at this point, and we'll keep the committee posted. I'll keep the city council posted as well. It is something that I know the community's making sure that there is a proper system for funding as these things happen.
Are there any questions from the committee in regards to this? Member DiZoglio?
Thank you. So is this, and the mayor could possibly answer this, glad to say Mr. Mayor again, glad you're feeling better. Was this the conversation that was taking place at the city council the other night? Is this where it's coming from, that discussion? Or is this a totally different?
No, I think it's Ryan, it's coming a couple different places. So we had, as a superintendent, your brother was asking questions, and they were good questions, and I think they were misunderstood because there had been a promise from, and I'll say this, superintendent, you can correct it, DESE, and then the governor, to me and DESE to the superintendent, that Methuen would not have to pay out of pocket for people that had been placed into the Days Inn. And the discussion the other night centered on whether or not there was going to be budget found and provided for that. And, this is good news. So this says that Governor Healy has found enough in the budget to warrant, providing some funding, which is right for people that we didn't count on at the beginning of the year.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Member DiZoglio, I didn't see the city council meeting, so I don't know what that conversation was, but the mayor is correct that This was from, the Governor Baker signed a supplemental budget before he left that did have funding in it. But when they switched governors, we weren't sure if that was going to carry forward. When the current governor signed her supplemental budget in March, this was a part of it. It did carry forward. So the information came to us shortly thereafter. I mean, it came, which was really nice. So I agree, this is a really good thing because we weren't sure what this was going to look like. And we were actually, Mr. Noble and I were in a meeting on Friday, and the commissioner was present, and the commissioner also talked about this and supporting, advocating for support for districts like this and continue to support so that we have a system in place when we have unexpected, right, numerous families in numerous districts in the Commonwealth to be able to support those students financially. So it's a good thing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the average cost per day that we pay per student?
Well, our per pupil expenditure, so that's hard to say, because I don't know how I would actually calculate that by teacher salary and everything else, but our per pupil expenditure is about $14,000 here in Methuen. So when we looked at the number, expected that they took the state average per pupil expenditure and calculated that $104 per day.
Okay. Would your guesstimate be that it's close to what we pay per student?
I would say yes.
Okay. No, I was just curious. I had no basis for comparison, and something's better than nothing. I just didn't know where it fell in terms of what it was costing us and what we were getting reimbursed.
I think with this plus the 75,000 that that was capped, so that was 1,000 per student. We talked about that a few months ago. Again, we feel like this is a very good supplement to an unexpected influx of students that were not counted and won't be counted in next year's budget.
Awesome. That's good news then.
But Mr. Goslin might have more to add, it looks like.
I just did a quick calculation. Comes out to be about $18,500 a year, which is the state average. So that's what the 104 is based on. We're lower than that. We're at about 14,000 per year.
Factoring in transportation and that sort of stuff as well?
That's not factoring in transportation. That's just net school
So
spending.
that's what the buffer
Yep. Yep.
would be. Okay, thank you. That is definitely good news, though.
Yep.
Any other questions in regards to this? Okay, moving on. We have the residency report. Does anyone have any questions about the residency report? So I don't have a question, more of a comment.
Yep.
I was just noticing in March and April, there were 10 withdrawn from the district. So, I hate to use the word that's good news, but if it certainly shows, because I know in February, we had concerns with the continuation of the, full school
Large group,
audit.
yep.
Sure, the large group audit. So clearly, they're doing a great job. And, we talk about the net student spending per pupil, right? So
Right.
that's big. That's big, 10 students.
Yep.
So, good job. Member Gisoglio?
So when someone also withdraws for the district, someone was asking me from the last meeting, does that also mean they just left, they moved, and then they withdrawn, or is it someone that showed up as possibly a resident?
So the only thing reported here are your withdrawals due to residency investigation. Our regular withdrawals, because of families moving, they're not part of this report. So we have more families than that withdrawing, and we have more families than that enrolling, right? So
Usually stays about the same,
we get a
right?
we get a weekly report every Monday with notification of how many more newly enrolled, and we get new enrolled students every single week. So we get that, and then students withdraw every single week. We're slowing down a little bit. This would be the time of year that, depending on where the students are going, I certainly don't want to disrupt the last 4 weeks of a child's school year if I don't have to. So this is a conversation we've talked about in my tenure, that this would be a point where I may make the decision, if the parents can drive them from the neighboring town, they finish the school year so we don't disrupt the child's last few weeks of school.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions regarding the staff report?
I know, it's so tiny.
Okay, seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to old business and other pending matters. Superintendent, can you please update the committee on the FY24 budget?
Okay, so I have the memo in front of you for the work that we've done since the last April meeting. We were given a number by the mayor and the CAFO, and then we did get a subsequent number last week as well, in time for us to be able to continue to discuss that and present to you tonight. So I see this as very good news for us that our team did work diligently last week. Our leadership team with the principals met first, and then our central office team met a second time. So what we have here is we actually have met the number at this time that the mayor and the CAFO have given us with what you see in front of you. So some of the things have been eliminated from that first exposure and proposal that we presented on April 10th. But we have been able to preserve most, if not all, I believe, of the student-facing positions and many of the administrative positions that our team feels are critical for us to continue to do what we do. And so I do feel strongly about these decisions. Our team also feels very positive about these decisions. So the 5 administrative positions that will not make it into this year's budget are the K-8 STEM coordinators, supervisors, and the director of finance. We would like to defer those to hopefully FY25 at this point to, those are still what we feel necessary positions to do what we need to do for instruction and student support and teacher support. But at this time, those are the ones that we've reduced. With the addition of the $268,000 payment that we'll be getting and the offsetting of the out-of-district tuition, those two were sort of huge pieces of us getting this number to where it needed to be. And then the last piece there is that we really spent some quality time together last week going through every single section of the budget and making sure that everything was exactly where it needed to be. Any new hires were accurately placed in budget sense and on the workbook that you'll get. So you'll get both of those things, the budget sense, if you recall last year, right? So the next round that we hand to you on the 22nd for the budget hearing will have both the Google spreadsheet with the highlighted, so you know the vacancies and the opens and what we have eliminated. You'll have that. And then you'll also have the actual budget sense sheets for each school that this is what we spent a good, I'd say 4 hours-ish on a given day last week, making sure that everything was in the right place. So just going through those processes, we feel very confident that we are at this number. We're in a good place. Again, if there's any subsequent funding that comes now in the summer, from the emergency shelter funding, we would certainly come and let you know that, obviously. We would probably have to transfer some funds if it's to FY23. That can get a little complicated, which has happened. That did happen when we had the refugee funds. It was distributed in the fiscal year, but we were asked to apply it to the previous fiscal year, which did become kind of complicated with the city as well, because budgets close on July 1st. So. But we did it, so we'll work through that if indeed we have to work through that again this time. So I guess I'm just looking for any questions for all of you. My hope would be that tonight we have and you can't formally approve the budget tonight, but that we have an understanding consensus that we are able to move forward. So the process is such that Mr. Goslin will need to post in the newspaper our budget, and we have a timeline to do that. So we need to post, I think it's 7 or 8 days prior to the public hearing on the 22nd, so it's this week. We have to get that to the media this week. We would also like to begin, because we know already how hard this is, we have been posting our vacant positions since February, vacation, with some success, not all successful, but some success. We have been able to fill some of the already vacant budgeted positions that weren't filled last year. We're hoping to post this week, start posting any of the anticipated positions that are in this budget pending the approval of the budget. But to get that process going, if I wait until July or middle of June when the budget is actually approved by City Council, I'm not feeling great about the fact that I will get the positions, teaching and administrative positions, in place in time. So if we can at least start that process and everybody will know, we start it, we post it, there's a certain amount of days that positions have to be posted before we can close it and begin interviews. So that process started to have people potentially in place to sign a contract, offer them the position when the City Council votes the budget in June, which I think is the second read is June 13th. You know, I would hope that you all would give us the ability to do that. And again, it would be anticipated because the budget hasn't been approved yet. So we'll take any questions. I know that there's information here. You know, I think because there's not a ton of positions, not quite in an order of succession like last year, I did put on that second, you know, the second page of that, you know, if there was $500,000 to come to us, the K-8 STEM coordinators would come first, and then the director of finance. But at this point, we would be able to fund our student-facing positions. So that's the most important thing for us. But I think it's important to say too, you know, our team spoke and we spent some time together last Monday with the principals. We spent central office a lot of time together trying to balance this work. You know, the 21 years I've been in Methuen, we have spent most of our budget and time really focused on student-facing staff, which is critical. And we are in a place where the school committees have supported us getting those class sizes lower. You know, we're not typically, I mean, I know I've said this, and I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but, you know, we were typically at class sizes between 25 and 30 for a very, very long time in this district. So it's taken, again, several years to build through that. The Branch Street School helps. The principals don't have to. The two schools that are expanding the most with regular classrooms have the space to do so. So all of it is coming together in a place where it feels like it is definitely less stressful to talk about these needs, which is really helpful. The Student Opportunity Act funding is critical, obviously, for our districts and the urban districts to be able to feel this way now. You know, where other districts didn't have the challenges that we had in the past, you know, it feels like we're in a better place to be able to continue to move forward in our district. And then just balancing that support staff, right? The more staff I add, the more supervision and evaluation has to happen, the more student behavior management has to happen. And if I don't expand the support staff, the administrators and the secretaries to do that to support the teachers, it just becomes a very imbalanced situation, right? Right now I have at the Tenney and Timony, I have one associate principal managing 650 to 700 students on both, you know, on either side of the building. And it is hard to do. So by adding the instructional support administrators, right, the L supervisor is the one our team felt right now, just with the data that I shared with you the first time, it is too compelling not to have those in place this year. It is something that we just don't feel that we can wait for. That putting some more of those staff in place at the grammar schools, again, aligns to what DESE asked us to do 5 years ago, and it was 5 years ago now, to make sure that we had a real content instructional focus at the grammar schools like we do at the high school. So we're getting there slowly, and we're getting there in a very positive way. But also that will also add, right, the more instructional support administrators I add to the KE, the more the associate principals and principals are not running common planning meetings and expected to run professional development, because they are right now. They're expected to do that. So when teachers have students they need to send to the office, there's one person who can handle office level behaviors, right? So we're trying to figure out the best way to support all of it. And adding more behavior administrators is not something that our team feels is in the best interest of anybody, students, staff, and the district. You know, focus on an instructional support to free up the time elsewhere is really the model that we're looking at. So, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't say it took a lot of conversation to balance that, right? You know, we had a side conversation that I think Mr. Noble said the average size of a district in Massachusetts is what? 1,500 kids, and those are the average sizes of our schools. And we have 4 administrators running it. So I have to be thoughtful in understanding if I need to support teachers, I need to support student behavior, I need to support instruction. I can't just keep adding teachers, so now we're at 140 teachers, 150 teachers, 160 teachers, and not having the staff, the secretarial support, the administrative support to support those teachers. So I feel we're getting more balanced there at the grammar schools especially. That's our focus, and that has been our focus. So we feel good about this decision. I feel good about where we've landed. I feel good about the support that the city has given us by making sure that we're getting the full amount of the Chapter 70 increase for Student Opportunities Act, because I can say that publicly that not all urban centers are getting that. And so I'm super appreciative of the CAFO and the mayor understanding that that is important funds for us in a school to be able to do what we're doing to give our students the support they need. So I do see that. I want to say that publicly. So I feel like that was a lot. But if there are other questions about anything on the back of the paper or any of the decisions we made, I would certainly entertain that now. But I think I've pretty clear on what I would like to be able to move forward with after tonight. Silence, wow, okay.
I just have a comment. I
Yes.
just wanted to say thank you to you, thank you to the mayor. You know, I guess I remember the previous mayor, previous superintendent, sometimes these budgets would, the meetings and the conversations would almost become adversarial. So this is making our job very easy, and I'm so happy that you guys were able to discuss it and reach a number. I completely agree with the changes and you know, putting those student-facing positions, keeping those in. Those are most important to me as well. So I just wanted to say thank you for making this process easy. Thank you to the mayor, if he's up there in the screen.
He was, he left. He left for the good part. What just happened?
All right, we'll tell him later.
No.
Any other questions or comments, or no? All right, we will move on to new.
I'm so sorry.
Sure, no, go
Madam
ahead.
Chair, can I just make sure, like, even just get a nod or a thumbs up? Is everybody good with us, what I would like to do to move forward? Anticipated postings, we'll get everything out to the media. So we will have the actual budget hearing on the 22nd and the vote from the school committee at 6:30 after the public hearing.
Not yet, not until the next agenda item.
Right, I'm sorry, yes, okay. I just want to make sure that we have consensus in moving forward with the postings and the things that we need to do this week. Thank you.
And if
And
you,
that-
if you leave your binders with me, I will replace all the
Yes.
insides and get you the new budget.
Yeah. Madam Superintendent, when
Yes.
you have these kind of conversations and put this together with the stamp of approval from the CAFO and the mayor, like I said, you make our job very easy. So, thank you. Can we move on to new business now?
Yes.
May I have a motion and a second to approve the amended 2023-2024 school committee calendar, removing May 10 and May 17th budget workshops and adding May 22nd, 2023 FY24 budget public hearing at 6 p.m. and May 22nd, 2023 adoption of the FY24 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by moved by Member DeZoglio, seconded by Member Keegan, I believe. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, may I have a roll call vote?
Rachel Banks,
Yes.
Ryan DiZoglio,
Yes.
Lori Keegan,
Yes.
Susan Nicholson,
Yes.
Jana Zani Pesh.
Yes.
Luann Santos, Mayor Neil Perry,
Yes.
6 yeses, passed.
Great, thank you.
Now, Dr. Kwong, if you wanted to update the public on those dates again, we have them.
Yes, so May 22nd at 6 PM, we'll have the public hearing here for the budget, which will, right after that, will follow the school committee's workshop adoption of the FY24 budget in a formal vote. Then the next day, we will have binders and all the information to the city council and the CAFO.
Awesome,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mhm.
Moving on to finance and operations, our favorite part.
Yes.
We'll start with the expenditure report. Does the committee have any questions? I'm just going to preface by saying to the business manager, you can just talk about circuit breaker and ice rink when we get to it, and we can alleviate all those questions.
Yep.
Member DeSoglio, did you have a question?
No, I was going to ask about circuit breaker.
Yeah, you know that's mine. Okay, seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to the revolving funds report. Any questions from the committee?
The ice rink is still doing well. We will be open for the summer. We're scheduling that. We are still looking for a third employee, but this is also our slow time, so we're okay with the two we have. So the ice rink is looking good. Secondly, circuit breaker, as you said. As you'll see, we just got another deposit of 1.7, so we're still expecting one more at the end of June of $1.7 million, and that account's looking in good shape as well.
One question about the ice rink. Are you going to bring us a new proposal for
I am.
price increases?
Yes, I am.
Okay, do we know when?
Maybe the next meeting.
Okay, will that be for the following year, or will those go into place right away?
I'll have to look at what you voted on last year. It may be for summer, and then next year.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the grants report. Does the committee have any questions on the grants report? Okay, I think you know the questions I'm going to ask. So, and you might have already pre-answered it, like the closed on the mask reimbursement, was that the one that we just missed the date? Like it expired before, like we got it after?
We got it, and we didn't buy any masks in that time period.
So it was only for,
It was only for masks. We couldn't use it for anything else.
okay, do we have a solid supply of masks still within the school district?
We do. I think we have too many.
I have about 200 sitting in my office right
We have mountains of them at the city.
Yeah.
Just
As-
making sure, you never know what's going to happen.
As well as COVID tests.
Yeah, we're not going to discard them. We're just trying to figure out where to store them right now, if we should need them again.
Are we doing anything with the COVID tests? Do we have those? Do they expire? What's
They
the expiration?
expire, which
Yeah,
means we
they're
have to
starting.
actually,
They're starting to expire.
they're starting to expire.
I wonder if we should put out something, because I know even when I went through the pharmacy today, the insurance, it says something about the insurance no longer covering the COVID tests, so people actually have to buy them again. Do we want to put out, I mean, I don't know what the surplus is, how many you have, but do we want to put out some sort of like, for people
I will
if
check
they'd
with
like
Mary
them?
Gallant to see about the actual, what was the latest for the expiration dates. We have 2 supplies, and one was expiring before the other. And I know it was during the school year, so I will if they haven't expired yet.
And check as well on the FDA updates, because or maybe it was the CDC, whoever issued the update on the testing, I know they extended it by 3 months for a lot of them.
Yeah.
The expiration dates.
They've extended it by quite a few months.
Eh.
I think most of our supply we got in the summer at this point, and they had extended the expiration dates.
So are you go by the extended date that's expiring?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, DESE actually had us put stickers on one group of tests that we received from them, so we had to put the new expiration date on those. And then we had another round that DESE actually gave us of surplus tests in July and August of last year. So we might be coming close. So if it's not past the expiration date, I will certainly send something out to families. We definitely try to put boxes in all the schools and all the nurses' office.
Sure.
To make sure there's more
So
available.
the students can ask for them in any of the schools as well?
Anybody can ask for them.
Okay.
Anybody can ask for tests at this point. Yes, there's
Yeah.
boxes sitting in our
What a
offices
change,
too at
huh?
the door. Yep.
Member DeZoglio, did you have a question?
Yes, one quick question. So I was looking at the grant. So the homeless emergency support, does that got to do with the one, the information that we just received, or is that a whole different type of grant?
That's a different program, so it's an additional grant that we were eligible for because we received additional students through a temporary shelter. So that $75,000 is in addition to the direct payment that we're waiting on from DESI, and that's all earmarked for transportation.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to student activity accounts. Does committee have any questions about that? Yes, Member Keegan?
This is just a clarification for myself. What is the student deficit accounts, and why do they vary so vastly between schools? Like, some of them have, one school has almost $20,000 in theirs, and others have like two.
Yeah, historically, believe it or not, it used to be called the principal's account. And way back when I started, principals thought they could spend it on whatever they wanted. We did rename it. The purpose of that account is to pay for students who can't afford a field trip or a student activity or whatnot. We get, sometimes the school will do a fundraiser, like a general fundraiser. It would go into that account. Or class pictures. We get a certain percentage of class pictures back that goes into that account to help cover those costs for those students. The differential between buildings would be how much they're actually transferring it into the other accounts to pay for students, or how much fundraising they've done.
Thank you.
Does anyone in the committee have any questions about the food services report? You know, it is nice to see positive balances month after month. I don't know if you guys remember, but not too long ago, we used to see deficits all the time. There just weren't enough bologna and cheese sandwiches to cover them, so that's a good thing. Member Keegan?
Can I just comment that the mayo is back at the high school, and the students are super appreciative that those chicken sandwiches have mayo now.
Fantastic. Member DeZoglio?
Thank you. So I was also actually watching the State House. Supposedly Andy Vargas is passing the meals for all schools. I don't know if we've heard anything yet about that. Like, I only watched details about it. I don't know if you've heard that the state legislature might be passing that all schools will have.
I haven't heard the answer to that, but the good part, so keep in mind, regardless of what happens at the state or federal level with lunches, we are designated a community program, so our students, regardless of what the state decides to fund for school lunches, will get free, all of our students will get free and reduced lunch, free lunch. So we're already, Mr. Ferrati already designated us last year, because we weren't sure what this year was gonna hold, so we worked last year to make sure we had all of our application in for that designation, and we do qualify, and we did get the designation. So it's great if the state funds it, but we also are part of the actual national program. So if that doesn't pass, our students will continue to get free lunch.
And that designation's good for 3 years, and towards the end of that would reapply.
Right.
As long as that demographics don't go back, we'll be fine.
Okay, we'll move on to contract awards. May I have a motion and a second to award bid IFB 23.05, purchase of 2 cooling towers for the Marsh Grammar School in the amount of $177,700.
So moved.
Motion made by Member DeZoglio,
Second.
seconded by Member Keegan. Any discussion? I just have a question. What's a cooling tower?
So I can explain, well, that I don't, Mr. Goslin can do that
Very
part, but.
basic description would be fine for me. Oh, look,
Great.
Mr. Noble's got it.
I know we have 2 things happening right now. We have
so
cooling towers and
both,
chillers.
Right, both the chiller is being rebuilt at the Marsh, and the cooling towers are being replaced. And Mr. Stella's explanation of the difference between the two are the chiller cools the air and pushes the cold air into the school building through our existing HVAC system. The cooling tower pulls hot air out. So together, they make up a complete air conditioning system. And unfortunately, right now, both are in need of repair
At the
or
Marsh.
replacement.
So we are working right now, the reason you are voting for this, we are going to be using the ESSER 3 funds for this project. So I think there's a second piece that will come to you. Yes, Mr. Noble? There's a second piece of this for installation, right? This is the actual supply, which
Yep.
needs to move first, which is why we needed to get this on the agenda tonight. Because there's like a 10, 12-week window for it to be delivered. So this is a two-parter with our ESSER funds for the HVAC system at the Marsh. So there's some conversation right now. I'm going into a little detail, and I'm sorry, but it's important that you know this. The mayor and the CAFO and Mr. Goslin and I have been talking about, right, we know we have a very large Tenny roof project that we need to do. So we're looking to, this project was actually on the capital improvement. So we have moved this project to ESSER 3 so that we can actually have some funding for the roof project to do more of the roof than was anticipated, if that makes sense. That will all be right, that's not us. There's no school committee approval for the roof. That is all done through city council. So Mr. Goslin and myself will be going to the city council meeting next Monday to approve the 3 leases. So the 3 lease contracts that you guys have approved, one was hopefully tonight, those have to be approved by city council because it's a debt lease, right? So that's something we learned a few years ago. But it's great for us to do that because it puts a line item, right, a known financial number in our budget for a certain amount of years, right? Some are 3 years, some are 4. Our curriculum is 6. We have a couple more years on that. So it's just great for planning. It was something that Sean Cronin spent a good deal of time talking to Mr. Goslin and I about my first year. Just how do you plan for this so you have a consistent, you're not looking for $1 million every 3 years to rebuy or repurchase. So it's a good planning.
Dr. Kwan,
So-
the installation contract's actually in this packet as well for tonight.
Great.
It's on page 57.
It is. It is, and that's one of my questions,
I knew
if you
that.
don't mind. So I understand that we've got, we're buying the chillers, and then we're having, I forget, Ron Thielsch Engineering, I think it was, I read, is installing it. And so I didn't see, as I went through both contracts, I didn't see anything about, and I don't know how to say, manufacturer versus sub, right? So the people who make the chiller are different from the people who are going to install it, if I understand correctly. And I guess what happens, I didn't see any, I don't want to say grievance process, because hopefully that
Oh, I see.
there
what you're
has to
saying,
be
if there's a problem.
something to protect the schools in the city from, a financial bounce back if the chillers show up and then Phil says, "Oh, these aren't the right. They gotta be cut, or they gotta be whatever."
All of the bids require a performance bond, so they actually have to produce that before they get any of the work or the product before we purchase. So that's part of the process.
And I get that, Ian.
Yep.
But this is a little bit different, right? So a performance bond just says you're gonna do what you're contracted to do. That's the easiest way I can say it. And so for a manufacturer, you're gonna make what we tell you to make.
Mhm.
And if they, I'm just supposing here, if they make what we tell them to make, and then the installation people say, that's not right, we can't, right? I think we might want to look at some protection for us.
Yeah, well, all the manufacturing bids are included in the bid specs. So when we look for installation, all the bid specs on what is being manufactured and what we're looking for them to install is included, and they'd have to be certified installers of those products. So that's part of it.
So Mayor, sorry, if I can interject 1 sec. Did the city attorney or who reviews this actual contract?
Well, the city attorney reviews it,
It goes between-
Member Pesh, for form and for terms and conditions,
So
right? They don't review it for What I'm talking about is functionality.
Right, so
Right.
Mayor, in clause 18, just looking at one of the contracts, I would suggest that the other one's probably similar, I just haven't had a chance to look. It
Yeah.
says that decisions relative to the interpretation of specifications, including approval of equipment, which I think was the first question you asked.
Okay. Yeah.
It falls under Chapter 30, Section 39D of the general laws. I don't know what that is, but that's something we could look up pretty easily, or the attorney could look
Okay.
up.
I'll go
So
look it-
that looks
yeah.
to me to be your recourse there, but I understand what you're saying. Is there a warranty in either of these for, like a manufacturer's warranty for the actual product, or an installation warranty for the installation?
I certainly don't know what it is off the top
I
of my head.
I
if
can
there
get
is
that
one.
answer tomorrow. I'm sure there is. I just want to speak out of turn and tell you the wrong number of
Yeah,
years.
no, maybe we could find that out, because, I mean, I'm with the mayor, this is great, and it's great we're using ESSER funding, but it's still almost $1 million. So we want to protect our investment and make sure this is good for years to
Correct.
come. And I'm hoping it's a full replacement. I know Mr. Noble said it's in disrepair. I'm hoping this isn't a repair. This is like full replacement, right?
The cooling tower is a full replacement
For $1 million.
project. The chiller is
Okay.
a repair project.
Okay, we're not
We're
on
not
the chiller
talking
yet,
about the
though.
chiller today.
Okay, all right, we're not getting the chiller yet.
One at a time.
Mayor, I didn't mean to interrupt. Did you have any other questions?
Nope. And how good it is to have a member understand me, member Pesh.
Feelings mutual. Okay, any other discussion, questions, comments? Seeing and hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please, Martha?
Rachel Banks,
Yes.
Ryan DiZoglio,
Yes.
Lori Keegan,
Yes.
Susan Nicholson,
Yes.
Jane Azani Pesh,
Yes.
Luann Santos, Mayor Neil Perry.
Yes.
Passes 6 yes.
May now have a motion and a second to award bid IFB 23.08, installation of 2 cooling towers for Marsh School, the Marsh Grammar School, in the amount of $744,000. So this is for the installation now.
So moved.
Moved by Member DiZoglio, seconded by Member Nicholson. Any discussion? Member DiZoglio?
So, in accordance to what the mayor's looking for, do we want to say yes to this until we figure out that question? Or should we table it for next meeting? Until we figure out what,
I think the point of negotiation for this contract is kind of past, is it not?
Yes.
So it's more for clarification. Mayor, did you hear that question?
Yeah, I did. So it's, the negotiation has passed, but I guess, what I'd say is, Brian, I think we gotta approve it tonight because the timing of when the work needs to be done, and I'm painfully aware of that. But I think we need to follow up, probably more so with the installer, to make sure that they're coordinating with the manufacturer, right? So that they're understanding what they get before they get it, and we don't have a surprise. So I think a long-winded answer is, I think it could be just a straightforward discussion with Thiel Engineering. I don't know if I said that right.
Yeah.
Who's the installer, and make sure that they're communicating regularly with the manufacturer, who is the previous contract. That will alleviate any problems.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Okay. Any other discussion? Questions, comments? No. Roll call vote, please, Martha.
Rachel Banks,
Yes.
Ryan DiZoglio,
yes.
Lori Keegan,
Yes.
Susan Nicholson,
Yes.
Jane Azani Pesh.
Yes.
Luann Santos, Mayor Neil Perry.
Yes.
6 yeses, it passes.
And the only thing I would add, the difference with this, if you're going to ask about any recourse, maybe just ask, because again, I haven't gone through word by word this contract, maybe just ask if there's any, if we still have regular, like, service type remedies, if this contract doesn't absolve any. I can't imagine that the attorney would have let some clause like that in there, so. I guess just a little bit different than like the product, right? If there's a warranty on the product, and just ask if there's a general warranty or a limited warranty on their installation.
Yep. Will do.
Thank you. Moving on, may I have a motion and a second to award the financing of instructional software via MHEC contract MC14-519 master leasing and financing contract with annual payments in the amount of $308,288.32.
Madam Chair, can I just make a correction? It's F19, not 519,
Oh, thanks.
just for the record.
Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Member Banks, seconded by Member Keegan. Any discussion? Did you want to just explain?
So,
what this is?
yeah, I think so. So this is a lease that Ed and I worked on 3 years ago. So the lease is up now, right? So we're doing this again for another 3 years, but we've added more to it because this is the process that we'd like to use more to have that, definitive number in our budget for the next several years. So this is a combination, and Mr. Noble and Mr. Goslin actually worked on this together, so they have a better idea. But this combines all of our instructional software, Lexia, not the language arts and science curriculum materials. That's on a different lease. That was a lot more money and on a different lease for 6 years. But these are the things that we use on a day-to-day basis. iExcel, Newsella. There's some things that you may be familiar with that you aren't. Lexia, which is our data reporting for all of our language arts programming. Reading Plus is another system that we have on there. I'm missing a lot because it's a pretty long list. We use software for different things at the high school as well. We put on this year. Yep. Device management software, right? So how does our tech team manage our Chromebooks and iPads? So we really tried to think a little more outside. When we did it initially a few years ago, we really did just put in like our most used 10 to 15 instructional software licenses. We get a better deal if we ask them for lock in for a 3-year, but we are not able to do that unless we actually lease pay it. So if that makes sense. So again, this is just another system that we are trying to do this as much as possible so that we know the consistency of the materials we have for a number of years, and we also know how much it's going to cost us. This is one, if approved tonight, that will be on the May 15th City Council as well for their approval with the Chromebooks and the iPads. If you have specific questions, probably Mr. Noble can answer, like if there's other kinds of things you want to know, what kind of software, but he probably has a general list in front of him on his laptop, so conveniently.
How much are we actually paying for this?
The total amount is $873,833.
But our annual payments are $308,288.
Yep.
32. So that doesn't equal. Is that because of? That's what I was asking.
Interest.
It's the interest rate, yeah.
What's the total we're actually paying? Do we know?
308,288 times 3.
I knew you were going to say that.
Mr. Goslin.
He's doing it. 900.
That's what we're actually paying, yes.
24, whatever.
And I do apologize, but this is actually, the original one we got wasn't the lowest rate, so that's why I sent this on Friday to you. This was the last one that came in. I wanted to make sure it was on the agenda, but I also wanted to make sure you had the lowest rate.
So we did get other bids, and they were higher?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the lowest one. Yeah, we're glad we waited.
It's a lot of big numbers this meeting, so.
There are a lot of big numbers, big projects happening in Methuen right now. Well, we have until September of 2024, if you recall, to spend ESSER, so we really do, we're moving with the big projects, at least that way.
That's good, because I don't want to see any CF.
I know, we will not send a penny
CFs
back, yeah.
closed with anything under that line item, so that's
Right.
good. Any questions? No? Can we get a roll call vote?
Rachel Banks?
Yes.
Brian DiZoglio?
Yes.
Lori Keegan,
Yes.
Susan Nicholson,
Yes.
Jane Azani Pesh,
Yes.
Luann Santos, Mayor Neil Perry,
Yes.
passes.
Moving on, there are no personnel transactions. Looks like there aren't any notification of vacancy postings. At this time, I will speak on behalf of the residency subcommittee. There is no update other than, like I said, I'm really happy to see us continue to move forward with those numbers. I think that's great progress they're doing. Is there any other business from the committee? Mayor, do you have anything?
Just to say that you did a far better job than I normally do, Member Pesh.
Not true, but I appreciate the words.
Yeah.
Member Banks?
I noticed looking at future dates for the next couple of meetings, it's listed as Monday, June 7th. It's actually a Wednesday. It is.
One we had to move.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to double check.
The
what
business
was-
meeting for June is going to be Wednesday, June 7th. Thank you. We'll edit that and make sure that it's posted correctly for the day. The date is correct, but the day, yep.
Thank you for that clarification,
Because
Member
if you
Banks.
recall, the following Monday and Tuesday are the final assemblies for the 8th grade that we will be attending. We will be attending. You can attend as well, but.
I have one other thing, Member Pesh. I just want to remind everybody that even once the school committee approves the budget, it still has to go before the city council, right? And that happens, I think, the week before Memorial Day. And that's important right now because, I think we've done a good job working with the superintendent and the principals, to craft a budget that's in the best interest of our children, right? That doesn't mean that the 9 city council members are going to see it the same way. We're working on the entire city budget at the same time. It takes up 80% of my days right now. And all of that is, I just want to say this publicly once, and I know we do this very carefully with great consideration for the taxpayer. Right? And I don't know, when we do this, there's always a lot of discussion about, people say, I don't have kids, I shouldn't have to be, that's difficult conversation to have. But I would tell you that, what we did with the CAFO and the superintendent and everybody else involved was to try to get a manageable budget that provides services that the residents want and the things that our students need, right? And I am going to be launching a mental health task force in the next week. And if anybody's interested in participating, we'd love to have you. But we're still concerned about the direction of mental health in our community and elsewhere. So if others out there are interested in participating, please call my office and we'll get you involved. And thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. May I have a motion to adjourn tonight's business workshop meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Member DiZoglio.
Second.
Seconded by Member Keegan. Any discussion? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Rachel Banks,
Yes.
Ryan DiZoglio,
Yes.
Lori Keegan,
Yes.
Susan Nicholson,
Yes.
Jane Azani Pesh,
Yes.
Luann Santos, Mayor Neil Perry.
Yes.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned at 8:04 p.m.
Good night, Methuen.
Great job, Member Pesh.
Thanks, Mayor. Always good to see you.
All right, good to see you.